this is the end-to-end distribution webinar. So what we're really going to be focusing on is the SOP to POP processing within SalesPad. So we're going to be really focusing on the customer lookups, creating the orders from the customer card, adding items to those orders, pushing them through workflow, and then initiating the purchase order process, the procurement process to backfill the material that you're selling. So that will be the primary focus for today. You can see my contact information there on the screen. If you have any questions, any interest, please funnel those requests through the TM group. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the software here, and I'll bring this onto my screen. And what we're looking at here, this is the SalesPad GP desktop. And before we get into the actual distribution process, I want to point out just a couple quick things. We do have a full security editor in SalesPad, so one of the concerns as you add more users into the ERP environment is security protocols and how do you restrict access, to protect your accounting side and make sure things aren't changed without proper authorization. So one of the things that we offer is a full security editor, and with the security editor, you're going to be able to set up your different user groups, and then the users that belong to each one of those groups, and then the security protocols for each one of those groups. So right here on the left side of the screen, we see our user setup. So I've got just some demo user setup in this group here, in this user setup here. Then we've got some groups that are identified, admin, CSR, manager, purchasing, and sales. And then over here on the right, this is where you're actually going to check off the security protocols for each one of those groups. So with the security, setting that up for each group is as simple as just checking off the box to enable that feature. We also have an auto filter row. So let's say, for example, you're setting up the security settings for the sales group. You can actually drill through all of those settings by typing in the sales, and now you're drilling down to all of the sales-specific security settings. So just a very user-friendly, intuitive security editor that will allow you to rein in and restrict the users as you add more into your ERP environment, what they can access, what they can change. So just a quick note on security. So with that, we're looking at the customer search grid here. And I've just accessed that through the main application here, the customer search lookup. And one of the common themes throughout SalesPad is we try to bring as much information to the surface as possible so you have it at your fingertips and you can make quick decisions on the fly. And we try to make sure that as you're accessing that, you're doing that in the most efficient way possible. So with our grids in SalesPad, we have all of these really nice, robust search features. So one of the first things I'll direct you to is the top portion here of the customer grid where I have these lookup boxes. If, for example, you have the customer name, you can begin typing that in the customer lookup box, and you can drill in and get to a specific record. You'll notice I didn't have the full name. I just typed in AA, but that was the only fit for that particular criteria I entered. You also have state lookup, for example. If you want to filter your customer list down to just customers based out of Michigan, you can do that as well. So just a lot of great search features up here at the top of the customer grid. We also have a auto filter row. You'll notice this top row that's at the top of each column here. And this can be turned on and turned off by simply right-clicking on the column headers. You can hide the auto filter row to remove it, and you can show it to bring it back. And the auto filter is nice. If you don't want to use the lookup boxes at the top, you can just click and move your cursor into one of those fields and begin typing, and that will also search and drill the list down to the specific record you're looking for. So just another nice feature. We also have the contains search option. So if you hit an asterisk, for example, and you begin typing like Aviagen, for example, this was a customer record I wanted to pull up. It was able to search through that and find a record that contained that word. So you can also do a contained lookup as well. You also have security settings that you can set for grid customizations. So if you have sales reps, for example, and you want them to only view customers that belong and have been assigned to them, you can restrict the grid customization features and have it auto-filter to just show records that belong to them. So just a lot of great search features here. Now we also support 256 user-defined fields per business object. So with the customer search, you can actually set additional attributes, additional fields that you may want to set for each customer to segment them out in ways that are specific to your business processes. So by right-clicking on the column header, I can bring in my column chooser, and this is going to give me access to all of those columns that I've defined, all those user fields. So if I do want to bring in additional attributes or additional criteria that I want to search by, I can simply bring in my column chooser and then just drop and drag those directly into the grid, and now I can search by that particular feature. If I want to remove it, it's just as simple as clicking and dragging that off. So just pointing that out. In terms of the grid, we have a lot of robust search features, and you'll find those search features in every grid, whether it be items, vendor lookup, customers, et cetera, et cetera. So with that, I'm going to drill into a customer card and show you what that looks like, and then we'll get into an order creation process and then carry that through to the purchase order backfill process. So I'm going to pull up Aaron Fitz Electrical. And again, I mentioned the common theme throughout SalesPad is just bringing information to the surface, so it's there for you so you can make quick decisions. Right here on the customer card, we have the basic customer properties, ship to, billing address, but then we have this really nice window over here with all of our open sales documents. So this could be a quote that's yet to convert to an order that's awaiting invoice. Any of those things will appear in this open sales doc window, so you have quick access to it. And again, being a grid, we can come in here on the auto filter row, and if it's an order, I can drill down and just search and have only documents that are orders. I also have document date filters, so if I have a specific date that I'm looking for, I can drill in even further, and you can really get down to the information that you want pretty quickly with these filter rows here. If you want to remove the filter that you set, just hit that X at the bottom, and it's going to bring back all of the document types. Another quick note before I get to the bottom section of the customer card with these that's defined by these tabs. As I open that customer card, you'll notice that it opened on a new tab, which is nice. SalesPad works on a tabbed view, so if there is a need to open up multiple customer records and multitask, you can do that quite easily. So I'm going to go back and bring my full customer list up. And you can see I've got two cards open, and I can quickly toggle back and forth each one. Likewise for documents, if you do need to drill into one of those specific documents on the open orders window, you can click on that document, and that's going to open that up in a separate tabbed view, so you can drill back and forth between multiple documents and then get right back to the customer card. So just a quick note on the functionality that you'll find throughout SalesPad. So with that, we'll get back to the customer card here and kind of discuss some of these tabs at the bottom. And I won't cover all, I'll just hit on a few of them. The first one being the contact addresses. So we support unlimited contact addresses. So if you have someone in AR you talk to, someone in the shipping department, you can list every single contact that you have out. We'll support all of that. The next big thing is the CRM. We have CRM as a separate suite here on the application, but we also have integration right here into the customer card. So this is helpful if you have an ongoing discussion with the customer where you're trying to scope out a new potential order, a new opportunity, and you have a lot of details, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of follow-ups that are required, and you want to make sure nothing falls through the cracks. This CRM tool is going to allow you to do that. You can set up just simple entries. If you want to log a note, you can do that. But we also have tasks set up. So if I do a new task, I can create a follow-up task, for example, and that's going to bring all of my customer information in. It's going to bring in all my contacts from the customer card. It's going to allow me to schedule it. So if I have a specific time frame that I want to follow up, I can do that. I can set a duration. I can also assign it to other users within SalesPad. So for example, if you're a general manager and you had a high-level discussion with a possible prospect at a trade show and you want to pass that information off and assign it to one of your sales reps who does that on a day-to-day basis, you can come in here and pull up the assigned to list and send that task out to someone else. You can also add notes. And when I save that, that will appear on the SalesPad Today calendar as a task to follow up on that particular day. So any of the tasks that you set up, you'll have visibility of them on this calendar. Now we also have a Outlook add-in, so if you prefer to view your tasks and have them all consolidated in one location on your Outlook calendar, we allow you to do that as well. So just some nice features. We do bring in a full AR tab, so if you have the need to do any kind of collections activity from the customer card, we will support that as well. You can see here we've got our different aging buckets, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, 91 to 120. You can also access a quick balance report, which lists out all of the documents, the totals, and you can drill into each one of those documents. Those are all hyperlinks. We also have a separate notes tab, so if you have an ongoing collections dialogue with the customer, you can note everything, so you make sure you follow up on, for example, if the customer says, I'm going to cut you a check next Friday for a past due invoice, maybe you want to note that and make sure that you have that logged so you do the proper follow-ups. We also bring in the full item history and sales document history. So if you have a customer that calls in and you want to make sure you're speaking to them from an informed position, you know exactly what they've ordered in the past, when their last order was, what they ordered, we're going to give you all of that information right here on the customer card. And again, these are grids. So if I do want to drill into a specific item, I can begin sorting by that and pull up those specific items. Same's true on the document side. We have these quick check boxes at the top, so if it's an invoice, you might want to just eliminate quotes and orders from the search screen, and then you can drill into this reduced list of documents and pull up the information that you want. Another nice thing, which is something that we just recently added, is the resource tab. So if you have customers where you want to maintain contracts, warranty cards, maybe there's a specific set of chemicals that they reorder that you want to maintain the MSDS documents for them all in one location, we're going to allow you to do that directly from the customer card with this resource tab. So if I go into this resource tab and hit new, it's going to open up my file management window where I can then go in, drill into the document I want to attach to the customer card. This is my quick pick image folder, but you kind of see the idea. You can drill into your file management system and attach any pertinent documentation directly to the customer card. So with that, and again, we have lots more tabs, but I don't want to hold up the process here. I won't go into all of them, but just lots of capabilities directly from the customer card. Now, as far as the order creation process, that's also done directly from the customer card here. So we have at the top here, you see these action buttons, and we've got standard quotes, orders, invoices, the return documents that you have. And if you hit these drop downs, you can see we can select any one of the documents to create that we have set up in GP. This is all pulling over from GP. So, again, with SalesPad, we're keeping the posting and the transaction level activity, the accounting activities, that's still going to be maintained in GP, but we're going to give you great access to your customers, great tools with your customer cards, the ability to create orders and POs, send those through workflows, gain all the visibility over those documents, and then push those back through to GP for posting. So, with that, any documents that you have set up in the GP environment are going to come over to SalesPad, and you can limit and restrict the types of documents you can create for each customer, all within our security protocols. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and create an order here. I'm going to create a WMS order for Aaron Fitz and show you how the order entry works. So when I created this new order, it opened a new order tab, pulled over the customer information, shipping information, and from here I can start building out my items and itemizing the order. So that's a pretty simple process. We're just going to hit new. It's going to open up a new line item. Let's say, for example, I know the full item. I can go ahead and enter that. If there are any pop-up notes associated with that item, like an upsell note that says, hey, if they order the A100, always ask if they want to upgrade to the A200 for an additional $25. That's just a sample note, but that's going to pop up and prompt the order entry at your inside sales rep or whoever's doing the order. So I'll close off of that. And since I had the item correct, it automatically pulled in my pricing information, pulled in my default warehouse. that will be pulled from. So all of that's fine. But let's say, for example, we don't know the item number, but we know a little bit about it. So we know it starts with an A1. If I tab off of that, it's going to prompt me and open up my my sales inventory lookup. And from here, I can go through my entire inventory list and search many different ways, whether I have a piece of the description, whether I have part of the item number, the middle of the item number, the end of it. We're going to offer just multiple ways to find and drill through your inventory list to get the correct item. And this is especially helpful in distribution companies, stocking distribution companies, where you have thousands of SKUs that you're managing and you don't really know where to begin. This is going to help you kind of drill through that list and get the appropriate items. So with that, I've got the A1 typed in, and I can come in here and say, for example, match beginning. And then I can search. That's going to go through my entire inventory list and only pull up the records that begin with A1. If I want to take that off and just say, pull all the records that contain A1, I can uncheck that box. Now I've got all the items that have A1 somewhere in the part number string. And you can see I've got a BA100G, so that qualified. So, but still, it's a nice filter down list. It's limiting my selection. So, so we have that capability. Let's say, for example, though, you don't know the part number, but you know, for example, it's a button head screw that you're looking for. You can come into the description auto filter row and hit the asterisk, and anytime you hit an asterisk, it's going to filter by contains logic. And then I can begin typing in button head, and it's automatically going to go through my item list and find a record that contains button head somewhere in the description. So you can see there's just multiple ways to go about finding items. Another nice thing is, as you get to an item, you've got a lot of great tools down here at the bottom of this inventory lookup. For example, you can see how much you have on hand, what's allocated, what's back ordered, next expected purchase receiving date. You can drill into the item properties, open up your item master record. If there's images, things that you've assigned in user-defined fields, you can access those. If you want to look at vendor information for procurement purposes, you can do all of that right here from this inventory lookup. So just a lot of powerful tools down here at the bottom. We also pull in like item analysis, different charts and usage reports. And this being a demo database, it's a little limited on the usage side, but you can kind of get the idea. We're bringing in a lot of information on the inventory lookup. And then if you want to add it, you're just going to click on it. That's going to close out the inventory lookup, and that item is now added to the order. So just, again, multiple ways to go about adding items to the system. Let's say we have the correct item added, and we want to go ahead and just say, this order is going to be for 10, and I can save that. I've got an order number assigned to this now, and then I can begin to push this through the workflow and the fulfillment process. And that kind of brings us to the next module we'll really get into, which is the Sales Monitor. One of the things that we try to do in SalesPad is allow you to define your fulfillment process specific to your business process, and each one of those steps that's required in that fulfillment process, and then give you visibility of each one of those steps and allow you to push the sales orders through each one of those steps, all the while maintaining visibility of that. And what that's going to do for you is it's going to give you a great a vision of where your money is, where your bottlenecks may be. It raises accountability, company-wide. For example, if you have an order creation batch and then that moves to accounts receivable for margin approval, if you have multiple orders piling up in the AR queue, to go talk to your accounts receivable department and say, hey, what's holding up these orders? Why aren't they being approved and pushed through? Is it a margin issue? What do we need to do to get these to move through? So it takes your order list and makes it much more meaningful. It breaks it out and gives you some, the ability to identify what action needs to be taken. So with that, I'll jump right into it. You'll notice that once I've created this order, I've got this release button. And this release button is going to allow me to push this order through to the next step in my fulfillment process. So if I hit release, it's going to ask me if I want to release it. I'm going to say yes. And the next step in my process from order creation is accounts receivable review. So I'll hit OK, and I see that order is now moved to the AR review. Now, to have visibility of that, we give you the Sales Monitor tool, and I've got multiple workflows set up for different order types, but I'm just going to focus on the one that I created, which is the WMS order. So right here on the left side of the Sales Monitor view, I've got a list of all of the different fulfillment steps. So the initial orders queue, the create manufacturing order if you have a manufacturing order requirement, the AR review if you want those to automatically kick back to accounts receivable to review the margins, if you have a step for the manufacturing order to be completed, ready to pick, ready to pack, ready to ship, invoice, approved. I've got all of these different queues set up, and then I've got the document count for each one of those queues. So this is a total of all the sales documents that I have in each one of those queues, and then I have the dollar value associated with each one of those queues. Now over on the right side, I've got each one of those queues broken out with all of the specific document details. So you can see here I've got my initial order queue. If I scroll down, I've got my accounts receivable review queue, and my ready to pick, my approved queue, and you can drill into each one of these different queues. For example, if I wanted to go into my initial order queue and send this order through to accounts receivable, I can drill into that and go ahead and release that, hit yes, hit OK, and then that's going to go ahead, when I refresh this, that order is now moved down to my AR review queue. So this is going to allow you to define your fulfillment process step by step, and then empower all of your employees in the different departments to then push those documents through to the next step as they complete their step. And this is something that you can define specific to your business process. So the back end of this setup looks a little like this. So I've got my setup, my workflow, and I can go ahead and come in here and I can create my different queues. I can create the button captions, what each button's going to say, the next queue that precedes each one of these batches. I also have plug-in capability, so if I want something to automate as those documents are moving through each one of those fulfillment queues, for example, if I want a notification sent to management that an order's been approved for processing, you can create that in this workflow plug-in and workflow rule setup screen. So we can really automate a lot of the activity, a lot of the communication that takes place naturally as you go through the fulfillment process for each one of your orders. So that's the workflow side. So we went into the customer card, created a new order, added items with the inventory lookup, and now we're pushing that order through our workflow, and we're maintaining visual confirmation of each one of those steps that's completed with our Sales Monitor view here that I showed you. So that's kind of the order creation process, the fulfillment side, monitoring the fulfillment side. Now there's also a need to backflush material as you're shipping that out. So there's really three places that you can create purchase orders to do that within SalesPad. So you can actually do that directly from the sales order on a line item by line item basis. You can do that directly from the vendor card, just as I did an order from the sales order from the customer card. You can do a purchase order from the vendor card. We also give you the capability to view your entire inventory list on an aggregate level, viewing not only reorder point demand if you're a stocking distributor and you have reorder points and min-max levels that you maintain, but we also allow you to throw in sales demand into that aggregate view, and then you can assign a purchase order, a procurement plan ID to each one of those items that you want to order, and then on a wholesale level you can go through and create purchase orders based on each vendor and then automatically issue those out to the vendors. So I'll kind of take you through that process. So the first one, while we're on sales orders here and I've got the customer card open, I'll just show you how it works from the sales line item level. So if I come in here into my customer card, create a new order, and I add a couple items to the order here, and we'll just do 5 of those. This is just a little socket head cap screw, and we'll do one more item. This button head screw, we'll do 5 of those. I'll set these to back order, and I'm going to save this order. You'll notice that on the line item level, I also have the ability to bring in additional columns to my line items. And one of the columns that I've brought in is this vendor column. And from this vendor column, I can hit the drop down, and this is going to show me all of the different vendors that I can actually buy this item from. So with this, I can come in, I can also view the last receipt cost. So maybe I want to go with whoever was the cheapest on the last receipt, and I can select this vendor and bring them into the line item level. I can go to my next item and do the same thing. So now I've got my vendors assigned to this particular order, and with that, I'll save it, and you'll notice that I have this purchase button up at the top of the sales order. When I hit this purchase, it's going to bring in the two different vendors that I had and that I assigned at the line item level, and it's going to show me the item that I need to order at the line item level. So beginning with the first vendor, if that looks good and I want to proceed, I can go ahead and create PO. And the nice thing is it'll automatically open my PO, bring in my item number. If I do have a vendor item number as well, it'll bring that into the line item level, and I can go ahead and save that, and now I've created that PO. I'll close out of that PO, and I'll go back and do my second purchase. So you'll notice that that other vendor is now gone because I've cut the PO, so I've got one vendor left. I can come in, create the PO. That looks good. Brought over the vendor item. Save that. Now I've got a PO created for that second item. Now you don't necessarily have to come in and hit that purchase button. You can actually have this PO generate once you release the document, so you don't have to do that manual step. So you can come in, assign the vendors, release it, and it's going to cut the POs on the back end. Now, a nice thing about doing this with ordering from the sales document is it will create a link between the purchase orders and the sales doc. So as I created those POs, you can see I've got a link back where I can open up those POs and see the item that was specifically ordered, and I've got that link from the purchase order side back to the sales order to make sure that they're spoken for when they come back into my facility. So that's nice feature, especially for drop ship locations and special order locations where you're not necessarily stocking it. You just want to create the sales order and then automatically kick the PO off in the back end to do the drop ship direct to the customer. This can be a really nice distribution model, nice setup between sales order processing and purchase order processing. The second way for PO creation is, like I said, through the vendor card. So again, just like the customer grid that I showed you previously, the vendor grid works the same way. So if you know the vendor ID, you can begin typing it that way. If you know the vendor name, you can begin typing that on the auto filter row, and you can really drill through your vendor list and get to the specific vendor pretty quickly. So if you open up the vendor card, again, a lot like the customer card, we've got open purchase order visibility, so any of the pending purchase orders for that customer, you can view that as well directly from the vendor card here in this window. You can drill in. If the auto filter row is not on, you can bring that auto filter row in and search specific dates, specific required dates, and really drill through that PO list. We've got a lot of tabs just like the customer card. For example, we also have a sort of a CRM for vendors where you can maintain a log, written log of interactions that you've had with a vendor. This can be really helpful if you have an ongoing negotiation for price. Maybe you have an engineering change for the item that you purchase, and you want to make sure that you're tracking that engineering change and noting all of the conversations you're having relative to that. You can log all of that right here in the vendor notes. We also have item history and purchase history, just like we had with the sales side on the customer card. We're going to bring that same concept into the vendor card, so you can see the last POs, the last items that you've ordered, so on and so forth. We also have the resources tab, so if you have specific pricing arrangements, pricing agreements that you want to maintain with each vendor, you can store all of those documents right here on the vendor card as well. So with that, the purchase order creation process is very similar to the sales order creation process from the customer card. I can come in and select whether or not I want a drop ship PO or a standard PO. And once I hit that, it's going to automatically open up a new tab. It's going to pull the vendor information over. The address, if I do want to edit the address, I do have the capability of doing that as well. And just like the sales order, I can begin adding items with my inventory lookup. So if I know the item, I can type it in and tab off of that and set my location for that to be received into, and I can go ahead and save that. Now I've got that PO saved in the system. If I didn't know the item number, again, just like the inventory lookup on the sales side, it's going to bring in my inventory lookup where I can then use all of these great search features to drill through my inventory list to find the appropriate item to purchase. So, so that's purchase order creation from the vendor card. The last way to create purchase orders in SalesPad is using what we call the Purchase Advisor. And I'm just going to close out of a few of these windows here and bring in my Purchase Advisor screen. So the Purchase Advisor is going to look at your entire inventory list. It's going to allow you to comprehend reorder point demand. So if you maintain min-max levels, for all of your items, you can see reorder point demand. It also allows you to bring in sales demand, so you can see up at the top here in this report that's generated. I'm bringing in not only my reorder point demand requirements, but I'm also bringing in my sales demand requirements. So right here with this item number 1001, I see I've got my reorder point demand, which is 486 because I've got an order point of 950, available 464. So that's telling me I need to generate this quantity for the reorder point side. But I also have a sales order for 10, and this is the specific sales document that's generating that demand. So I've got both reorder point demand for this particular item, but I've also got sales demand, so you can comprehend both. If you only want to look at reorder point demand, you can actually eliminate the sales demand as well. So then at the bottom here, with all of that kind of aggregate view of your demand side, you can come in and then item by item assign a purchase plan ID, and you can see that visual right here on the line item level. So I've got a purchase plan ID, and in this case we've just simply called it purchase plan 1. So I've assigned that. I can come up here, select my purchase plan ID, and then go to my purchase options, and that's going to automatically filter through all of my items, and anything that had the purchase plan ID of 1 assigned to it, it's going to bring that into my purchase order maintenance screen here, where I can go through vendor by vendor, and I can see all of the different quantities and part numbers that I need to order. So for this vendor advanced, I've got three of the same item I need to order, 234 of which are associated with reorder point demand to fill me back up to my max level. I've also got 2 separate sales orders that are creating demand. So if I want to order all of those, I can check those off and create the PO, and that's going to bring those over to the purchase order, broken down in separate line items, and then I can go ahead and proceed and save this PO. And if I have that turned on, that will automatically create that PO for the multiple line items. Now, we keep them separate just because if you do have specific quantities associated with the sales document, we want to have those kind of separated out from the reorder point demand. So that's why you have these multiple line items on the PO creation side. So so with that, that's kind of the purchase order side. So you have the 3 options to backfill material directly from the line item level in the sales order, directly from the vendor card, or kind of looking at your inventory as a whole with our Purchase Advisor tool. Now on the receiving side, we do have some receiving tools as well. So you can come in as you're creating these POs, and as material arrives, you can come in with our receiving module and multi-select different items that may have arrived on your docks. And you can go, receive selected, and if there are quantities to receive, it will automatically update the quantities to receive column. And then in this case, these 3 items I selected were all fully received, but this one wasn't. So I see quantity 1 is available to receive. I can save that, And if it is a item, not this one happened to be a dropship item, but if it is an item that you're actually going to receive, and let me see if I can find one, because I want to show you it actually generates a receipt that can then be posted in GP. So let me just scroll through my POs briefly here. I'll sort by date. That might be helpful. And again, this is a grid just like the other grids I showed you in SalesPad. So you've got these great search features, and you can come in and I'll select the one that I created today and multi-select those, receive selected. This is an editable field, so if you do want to modify that, maybe it was only 4 that arrived, the vendor missed 1, I can modify that quantity and then I can save that. And since this was a standard PO that's going to come into my facility, you can see it created that receipt document 1194. That's now in GP, so you can go through and post that. And once you've posted that, the quantity that we've noted that we've received will then be available in GP as well as SalesPad for issuing the sales orders. So with that's kind of everything I wanted to cover on the end-to-end. I wanted to show you the customer search features, how easy it is to look up the customer records. Within those customer records, all of the different information that we bring to the surface for easy access and decision making, the ability to then create orders directly from the customer card, easily assign items to it, push those through the workflows that are defined based on your business fulfillment processes, and then how simple it is to backfill that material and receive it in once you've sold it out of the system, whether it be directly from the line item level on the sales order, from the vendor card, or if you like to, you're a stocking facility and you prefer to look at your inventory requirements on the aggregate level with the Purchase Advisor tool. So with that's everything I wanted to show today.